beans. I think we're getting started here. I want to say hello to all of our Facebook FaithBridge followers. That's a tongue twister, right? We want to thank you guys for joining us today on our live session here with some cool folks today who are just, let me just say, rock stars. And I'm not, as they say, I'm not gassing them up. These are true rock stars in the work, people who I enjoy seeing what they do, helping out whenever I can, staying out the way when they tell me to. That's usually Joe. No. But just being able to just celebrate these folks and then just talk about why leadership matters. FaithBridge has been doing these conversations for a while, since September of last year. It seems like forever ago. We've been doing these conversations, and we've got to the point in our series where we're talking about leadership matters. And I will tell you, I am a believer in what John Maxwell says, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so when we think about our schools being great places for kids, we think about them being great places for teachers. You got to have some greatness in the administrative wing. You got to have some greatness in the principalship, assistant principals, all of those folks who make up the administrative team. They got to be good at what they do. And let me just tell you, if they're not, we've heard some stories of folks who will tell you how rough it is. And so I got these great folks who've joined us, and we've got a couple other folks that are going to join us too to share their thoughts on leadership. So we're going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to start with Joe Glover. Then we're going to, I think alphabetically it should be Marcia, F before G, right?
Oh. All right.
So we'll go, and Tommy's jumping on as soon as she gets her video on. We'll get Tommy on to introduce herself. So just tell us who you are, where you're working, and maybe how long you've been in education. And let's see, what's an interesting thing that people want to know about the folks who lead their schools. Your favorite teacher, if you can remember him or her, your favorite teacher in grade level. So
yes. So my name is Marcia Fulton. I am the Executive Director of Compass Academy. I've been with Compass now for 5 years through its initial startup, and then now we're in year 5. Prior to that, I've been in the district for 20 years now. And before that in Cherry Creek schools teaching so in the field of education now for 30 years. It's my life's work, to be sure. And I've had 2 DPS graduates, proud graduates. They're now in their beyond college graduates and in the middle of their college distance learning experience. And the teacher that just immediately came to mind is Mrs. Graham, 3rd grade, because there was no bound, there was just no limits to what, she believed that we could do. And so we flourished in her care. And it was a significant feeling of agency that that was being built in me, that I will forever, that drives my work and will continue to drive my work on behalf of kids.
Alphabetically, I'm going to go with Tommy. Tommy, you want to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go to Joe. Then we'll go to Neva.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tommy Amos, and I'm the Executive Director of the Northeast Denver Innovation Zone, year 17 in education for me. And favorite teacher, I would say is Miss Lyons. She was year 17 in education for me. Oops, something, I don't know if that's mine, sorry. But she was my 4th grade teacher and looped with us to 5th grade. And that just happened to be at a pivotal time in my life in which I had a lot of personal family things going on and experiencing just some personal trauma. And so to have a teacher that knew me well, knew my family, really, believed in everything that I was capable of, I feel like, to what Marcia said earlier, I was really able to thrive and feel safe in a way that I hadn't experienced before and probably haven't really ever experienced since.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Vernon. I'm Joe Glover, principal at Manual High School. And wow, I've been in education, I guess, 21 years total now. I started out in Arkansas. I was taught at University of Central Arkansas and then moved to Colorado and then became a teacher at DPS, started at South High School and then went through a few other high schools there. And yeah, it's been kind of a great experience going through. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 21 when you say it out loud. My favorite teacher was my 7th grade science teacher. His name was Mr. Wright. And this is going to date myself. Back in the day, I was a huge fan of MacGyver. So it was a TV show. It was all about science, right? And I'd never had much interest in science. I was more English, but he connected things back to the TV show, and which just kind of blew my mind. It's like, wow, this is something I'm interested in that I can see, you know, and so that connection was really cool. And that's kind of where I learned that you've got to find something to connect with our students and make it interesting and relevant for them and make that connection. So he's my favorite teacher of all time, not just because of MacGyver, but he was also he was a great educator. So.
All right, my name is Mivan Kosravi, and I'm the proud principal at Jesse Whaley Maxwell Elementary here in Montbello. I am a former 2nd grade and then 7th grade English teacher, and just love being in the community. I've been at Maxwell. This is finishing up my 6th year in the community, and really proud to be leading a community, a true community school. A lot of input from students, parents, teachers, staff, and I think we got a great overall community, really, really strong, and that's what I'm really, really proud of. The teacher is just flowing through a few in my mind as other folks were speaking. One that comes to my mind is Mr. Edwards, 10th grade US history teacher, and he was the teacher who there was a time in class where I, for whatever reason, I don't remember now, but got sent to the principal's office. I was called down to the classroom and I was supposed to go to the principal's office. And before he would let me go, he took me outside the room, reamed me out outside of his classroom and said, I don't want you hanging around with those knuckleheads. I don't want you doing that. You're better than that. I see more in you. And he just saw a lot in me. And I took it to heart and tried not to go back to the principal's office in high school. So that teacher building that relationship and just seeing me was pretty amazing.
And you became the principal, dude. And I've seen him. He's a teddy bear principal around his kids at Jesse Maxwell, and they are. You're just a great guy with the kids there at Maxwell. So I appreciate all of you guys, your time. So I think you guys know me, Vernon Jones, 5 kids. That's the main thing about me. 2 in college, 3 still in different public schools. As I was telling Joe, 1st grade, middle school, and high school. So we have the entire educational continuum here at our house. And so we've been taking lots of notes on how to do remote learning better. We actually can't wait till summer break so we could do nothing else. So we're glad you guys could be here. And I just want to open it up and chime in. You can open up your mic, but chime in. How are you doing? Right? How are you doing right now? How are you doing right now as a leader? Because you guys are in a very challenging spot, all of you. No one's ever led in a pandemic before, right? And I want to say that, you know, my daily prayers include you guys, and want to know how you're doing. So whoever wants to jump in, how are you doing as a leader of your school? Because you're leading staff, you're leading students. You're calling parents, you're doing some things that you probably never done before either as a leader. So tell us, and whoever wants to jump in and start us off can, but we want to just know how you're doing as leaders.
I can jump in. So I think on the one hand, I am just filled with joy hearing a lot of the success stories from teachers and students in our school. I have teachers and paraprofessionals that probably wouldn't have self-identified as being the most tech savvy before this, who just really have that growth mindset. They're doing everything they can to make lessons amazing for kids. They're connecting with families. I have a lot of teachers doing way more connection with families and students in this different type of one-on-one way than they've done before. So that's a great strength. But I think one of the challenges as a leader that's really hard. Hey, Dr. Chen, great to see you. As a leader is all tasks and all the are onto the emotional, mental health, the challenges that staff and students are going through. We have some students who've lost loved ones to COVID-19. We have a handful of staff who've been directly. That's just been really, really hard as a leader, and especially because I, genuinely care about the people who show up every day for children and work on our team. It's really hard to see when people are hurting so bad. So that's been one of the challenging things holding on to as a leader.
Yeah, Nevon, and it's been, I'm telling you, it's just been hard. I think we talked about it's hard to grieve with families who, as school leaders, I know from my experience at Manual too, is like, we hug when we grieve, we cry together, and not having that ability to do that has been challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How's Marcia?
Yeah, I'm happy to share, but do you want to introduce our?
Yes, Dr. Chen. Thank you. Dr. Chen is on. Brandy, you want to introduce yourself, tell folks who you are, and then tell us, as you think back on your educational journey, who is like your favorite teacher that impacted your life?
That's a great question. So first of all, I'm really sorry that I am late. I was like upstairs on a call thinking I had all the time, and I was like,
you was putting on the pretty pearls. I see.
We have orientation today, so that's why I dressed up, because normally I look like meh. Anyway. So I'm Brandy Chen. I'm the founding school director at DSST Knoll, which is in the whatever you want to call it, Gateway, Montbello, Green Valley Ranch. We serve that whole neighborhood. And we are DSST's 8th campus in Denver. I'm really excited about that. So great question. I think the answer to your question is I don't have that teacher. And I think the fact that that is a missing person, like a little white person's head, a little white like background with the question mark, like missing person, really fuels why I do this work. Because I think it's so important that our kids do have that teacher or that dean or that principal that they can name by name and name like that 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever experience is, that they were truly their champion. So I did not have that in a teacher. I had that in a mom who played no games about education, but I did not have a person that I could say that I felt deeply cared about when I went through the school system. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, which is kind of similar to like the Montbello community, but different. And so, yeah, that is my experience.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. Marcia, how are you feeling? What's going on? What Nevon was saying, how are you feeling as a leader?
I'd say similar. There's a lot of similar traits there. There's so much pride and joy in what teachers and kids are doing, and I can pop into a classroom and see the conversations, the work, the village meetings still happening, the PAC class, there's so much, teachers are collaborating in ways that we never dreamed they would, because that's what they're hungry for, and new learning. I think it depends on like where I position myself in the world. When I'm in my school and I'm seeing, there's the ache of loss of challenges and barriers, and then that's coupled with joy. And the same I think is true when I think about it, the world issues or the city issues that feel oppressive at times. And I would say recently, as I've started to look forward into the future, I've started to find a new sense of hope of the kinds of questions we're getting poised to ask ourselves around what's this next new evolution of what do we keep, what do we throw away, what can we break, what can we rebuild? And that has brought me more hope and an element of joy and possibility that I have not been feeling for the last 2 months. And that's just been recent, but I actually don't even want to lose the feeling of some of the other emotions, because they're also going to drive what needs to be driven in order for me to see hope. So it's a real mix every single day of the work, and finding the joy, finding the celebrations, finding such beauty in so many things that are happening, in the goodness of humans and kids and families and what they're doing. And the call to action is real. So that's where I am. I'm really like kind of schizophrenic at times, but I'm starting to find my hope, which is good.
Dr. Chen?
So the question was like, how am I doing or feeling as
Yeah,
a leader?
how are you doing as a leader? And I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what you want to be for a live audience, right?
Duty calls. That's how I feel, right? Like in every, just similar to what I've heard, mixed, right? Like on the one hand, and this could be mixed like in the same like breath, like feeling the same, you know, these mixed emotions. One is like just like sadness for everything, like, oh my gosh, from where do you want to start? From the leadership of this country to the, you know, we can point to the Black Lives Matter t-shirt that you see on the screen, like so saddened by all the like the national global context, the local context, sad for the fact that I just honestly just miss my kids and I miss our staff and I miss just physically being there, you know, like there's nothing that can replace a pat on the back or a hand on the shoulder or a hug or tears or whatever it is. That's just hard. And I think our kids are feeling that, our teachers are feeling that. And I'm also like, I'm incredibly proud of how like everybody has shown up in this space, our entire network, how we rallied around and like responded and still decided that we were gonna, given, you know, despite all odds, like we're still going to fulfill our mission, right? We're still going to provide a high quality education because that's what kids deserve. And so if that means we got to figure out how to do this, like in 2 days, that's what we're going to do. And the way our kids have shown up, our parents, our leaders, teachers, like just incredibly proud. So I would say those are like two things that are top of mind for me right now. But then I go into all other feelings too, all at the same time. And I think also like feeling a responsibility, to not only do my job as we normally know it, but also to help people work through all this stuff, right? Like our teachers have emotion and feelings, you know, leaders do, and like feel a responsibility to lead in a different way, given this crisis.
Yeah. Joe, I'm gonna ask you how you're feeling, because then I'm gonna come to Tommy and I want to ask Tommy a little twist on the question because of her unique role that she does.
Yeah, it's what everybody else has voiced as well, you know, and as you know, Vernon Manuel, it's a family. And when you're separated from your family and you can't see your family or connect with your family, it has a huge impact, and just in your daily mood and, you know, just how you go about your business. And it's real. And I think one of you said that, you know, you go back and forth with the feelings, like 1 minute you're hopeful and the next minute you're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? And I can't be close to my kids. I can't take care of them. So there's a lot, the range of feelings is all over the place, but there is that sense of, even though, you know, we're in this crisis right now, we're in this pandemic, that this is an opportunity for us to make things better and to change, you know, the way education looks, because some of our students, although they're struggling, some others are really thriving in this online environment. And, you know, it would be an injustice to, you know, not give them the opportunities to be able to reach their full potential, no matter what that looks like. So school's been school, you know, since the 1800s, we've followed the same model, and now is really a chance. And that makes me hopeful. But it is sad that, you know, and we've had students that have had parents pass away and we can't be there and console them. You know, we can't offer them the services like we did when they're there in person. And, you know, we still have those connections virtually, but it's not, like you said, when you grieve, you hug, right? And we can't, that loss of physical connection is tough. And even for me, I consider myself an introvert in most pieces, and I'm not as much of an introvert as I thought, because I am missing my kids, I'm missing staff, you know, I'm just missing those interactions. So
yeah. That's real. It's real. Tommy, you have a unique position too, because you're supporting principals, right? And so when I talk to you as a leader, I always say, like, how are you doing? But then how are you doing supporting leaders who are dealing with everything that these folks just articulated? So
yeah, I mean, the ups and downs are real. And I think what's so challenging about this is, you know, so much of education is about a lived experience. You've been in their shoes, you can speak to what it's been like. And this has been like, hey, leaders, I am here with you remotely, right? Like, I can't even sit side by side with you as you problem solve this, but I am here to think through everything with you. And so I think that it just presents new challenges, you know, and in 3 weeks' time, we've been asked to totally shift the paradigm of what the education system looks like. And our school leaders have done a phenomenal job of trying to figure that out. I think, you know, it's been hard to to get to a place of like, oh, we're in this for the long haul, right? Like at first we were like, oh, just a few weeks. And now it's like, nope, till the end of the school year. And then, this feeling of like, are we ever going to get back into a building? Are we going to see our kids, grappling with them needing to be really strong for their teachers, for their kids. And that they are also feeling some grief of this, right? Like, because I support all grade level bands, not seeing our kids transition off until their next milestones are devastating, right? Like not getting to see fifth graders continue on to middle school, not seeing our eighth graders continue on to high school, and our seniors. I mean, it's just devastating to think about, and not knowing what their fall is going to look like for college and beyond is just, it's a lot to try and navigate. And I think, just trying to be strong for others has been the best that I can bring to the table, but it is new learning for all of us, and just holding space for people to be themselves, right? Like cry if you need to. I can't embrace you in person, but I am here with you in spirit, and we will talk through this. Rant if you need to. There's so much, but come as your authentic self. That's all we can bring to the table right now.
Yeah, that's real talk. I appreciate that. I appreciate all that. Everything you guys just said. Look, you guys all know me that I'm an emotional person. Like I'm like holding back tears right now. Like that is real stuff, because it's everybody's feeling that. Everybody's feeling that. Every leader that I talk to, everything that you guys just expressed, they're feeling that. And it's within us to want to do everything we can for the people that we serve, right? And to be kind of confined. Tommy, to your point, we are just as stuck as everybody else in our homes, and we want to be there. We want to be side by side. We want to help you navigate that. So I really appreciate you guys sharing. So with that, I want to know what are you glad that has stopped? Like when you think about education and you think about, and Nivon, I'm coming to you first, brother, because you got the t-shirt out, bro. What are you glad that it stopped? Because I know you guys, the reason why I respect all of you on this is that not only do you do the work, but I think you do the work through the right lens, right? Like I know that y'all don't go in here believing that the system was designed for the success of all children, right? None of you believe that. So this is a disruption to the very structure and systems that a lot of us have been giving decades of our lives to fighting. So in your revolutionary voice, Nivon, what are some things that you say, you know what, I hope we never go back to that in education?
Very interesting question, Vernon. And that is definitely.
And give you some more think time. I want to point this out too. Everybody who's watching, I want everybody to know that these are friends of mine who represent charter schools, innovation schools, district-run schools. This is the collective. We everybody who's arguing about governance model and all that, they don't get it. There are those of us who are in the trenches doing this work, and we just do the work for kids. And so I want you to see this window here of these brilliant people who, across the board, I don't care where Nivon goes, wherever Nivon is working, kids are going to be served well, right? And the same with the rest of these folks. So I shout y'all out for that. And I love I'm like the smartest guy in the world because I got friends like you guys. So I appreciate that. So, but Nivon, what do you don't want to ever see come back?
So it's I think sometimes just asking the right question is just really, really important. And I think I've been a part of focus groups and some surveys and stuff where the right question doesn't really get asked. And I think what you just asked, Vernon, is actually probably just as important as any of our responses. I think that question is what I want all of us who work in education, and by all of us, I mean, school leaders is a very important role, but also teachers and paraprofessionals and folks who work with kids every single day. And I think I want that question to be, we don't have hallways to walk down, but like echoed from the Zoom, Google Meets rooms to Google Meets rooms, right? Like, what do we want not to be come back? I was at a really great talk 4 years ago. Dr. Chris Emden came and gave a talk, and he was, I believe, quoting Dr. King, and he said, "What are you willing to be maladjusted to?" And so I think that quote for us to think about is like, what are we as educators willing to be maladjusted to? Are we willing to say that we don't believe that the system is working the way it's supposed to, and thereby needs not incremental small change, but it needs us to reimagine what it could be, and not in small ways. Like, what could, if we know that there's a giant achievement gap and that Black and Indigenous and Brown students are not, achieving their potential, is it something that's just a couple teachers are not doing good enough, or is it a system that needs us to really re-examine it? And so I think my response to that is I don't necessarily think, I think that this could be an amazing opportunity, a pause from just a little bit of research I've been trying to do. Like, I don't believe there's ever been a pause in the education system all the way back to last pandemic 100 years ago, right? And so, Joe, you kind of alluded before, the system was created for something very different than what I think is in our hearts. And then I want to just bring up, like, we've been doing a lot of work instructionally at our school focused on this concept, universal design for learning. That idea that if you start with those that have been the most marginalized, or invest this in like curriculum work, you're starting with students who need the most support to access grade level content, and say, how can I make this learning work for those students, right? Because I want them to get it, and they haven't historically. And so I think if we as educators, and I think it's bigger than, this amazing 6 people sitting in this Zoom room, right? But it's like, if districts and states and were to start to say, like, what if we started, whatever we come back to, and say it's not going to be the new normal, it's not going to be the same thing that we had before, but let's actually start with students who've been underserved historically and currently, and not by any fault of their own, but let's start with those students in mind and say, it's not okay that we are getting disparate outcomes. We have to actually put some budget dollars, time, effort, resources, structure of a system in place. And I think the last thing I would say is, we have lots of conversations in different committees and so on about what the term equity means. And I think this could be a moment to actually not define it by just words on a wall, but through actions, and say, like, we're not serving in an equitable way if we're getting inequitable results.
Ooh, what else? What you think? What's on your mind? Niman, thank you, man.
Thanks, Brandy.
I always like following him because I can just say, and.
Yeah.
Because it just, your words, Niman, it just makes me go. And what the visual was when you were talking was, what I don't want to ever come back are the blinders, that we've all worn, these glasses that are some sort of rose-colored glasses of and they've, in my mind, I'm experiencing them coming off, and I don't ever want them on, because education has been exposed, and that's a good thing for, its strengths, like the power of the teacher, the power of, and it's also begging questions around the role of school across communities, because it's so much more than a building. I hope we don't go back to thinking that learning only happens in the school and in walls. I hope we don't go back to a narrow set that defines what our schools do, because every story that I hear across these schools are so much more than how we've been evaluated, I guess, or seen. But these stories of how communities are being served right now together in partnership, I hope that stays. Like, there's a lot that is happening now that we must build on as well, like the need to work together with each other and to understand the needs of each child. And that's a very powerful thing. It does mean that we must continue to interrogate this system and to uncover all the oppression. And this is where I want to just cheer everything that's been said here around a true definition of what it means to serve all our kids with integrity, yes, and to their life's choices and purpose. And that is, I hope we never go back to a system that doesn't allow for that to be true. Ever.
Ooh, the room's getting hot. Go
I
ahead.
want to jump in because wow, like I 100% agree. And the word that comes to my mind is excuses. And that might be a hard word to say right now, especially given our context, particularly our financial context and what's coming. And yet and still, I think this crisis has caused us to move so fast that we literally didn't have time to focus on excuses or reasons why we couldn't do X, Y, and Z. All we had time to do was just to do it, to just figure it out. Yes, we have SPED students and we still got to do it. Yes, we have students that are ELL students. Yes, we still got to do it, right? Yes, no, not all of our kids have laptops. So guess what we got to do? We got to make sure 100% of kids have laptops. So we didn't really have time to look at the other piece and like to sit around and mope and like whatever, because we've never had enough like in education, let's just be honest. And now we're going to continue to have even less. And yet, like we've proven that we actually can, right? When we focus on the solutions and being creative and being innovative, we actually can for every single kid. And so I hope that we don't go back to excuse making and we don't have this and we don't have that. And I get that. And we need to fix that. And while we're fixing it, guess what? 100% of these kids deserve our very best every day. So that's what I hope we don't go back to.
Man. Everybody gets to see why I stay fired up, because I'm around these kind of people. Jeez.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. I don't think I can say it any better than that, right? And I think that, one thing that we found, to go back to this idea of what matters and what are we getting the excuses out of the way, right? We found a way to fund all of our students for hotspots and computers. We found a way to make this happen without getting bogged down in, well, we can't do A, B, and C because we don't have the funds, or we don't have the manpower, or we don't have the, all these other things that typically come and get in the way. And I think also that, we've come to see how important our schools are. And Vernon, Manual's a food distribution site, and your organization, FaithBridge, has done a great job with helping us and helping with the food distribution, and how important our schools are for the community and for our students. And it goes beyond, the educate. We didn't have a standardized test, and the world didn't end. I just want to point that out too, is that, we're so much more than our test scores and what typically we're measured by. We do so much, and I don't want that to be forgotten when all this, when we get back to the normal, is we're doing what we need to, and we're helping the communities that we're in, and that's the importance of school, and it goes beyond those typical measures that we've done, or that we've had before. So
yeah, I will add to that, Joe, is that when you talk about the central place of a school, like I think there's, Marsha, I think everything that all you were saying, I think, Marsha, to your point, is that some people looked at the school separate from the community, right? That's their approach, right? Where what they are seeing is that the communities that you're serving, mostly Black, brown, poor in Denver, are very much about this collective, this village. It's not just a slogan for us. It's when we say it takes a village, we actually are the village, right? And so what I'm seeing is that I see more of the village operating at schools across the district. I see more welcoming partnerships. I see people coming out of the woodworks to help who were, to some degree, held at a distance. And the schools that are doing things well are the ones who are embracing the village concept. The schools that I know are struggling are the ones who are still trying to operate in silos and isolation. And so I agree with you, Joe. I agree with what you said there. I think we have to embrace the fact that this work of educating children, this is community work, right? And when you mess with the school, you're messing with the community, right? When you can't treat the school bad and not think that doesn't have detrimental impacts on the community, right? You got to take care of Maxwell, because Maxwell is Montbello, right? And if you hurt Maxwell, you hurt Montbello. If you hurt Manual, you are hurting Northeast Denver. If you hurt Compass, you are hurting Southwest Denver. And I think people need to see the connectedness and help that inform their decision making, because boy, I'm telling you, we are this. You see what we're missing most. We're missing the connectedness with each other as a family, because schools are more than just, look, reading, writing, and arithmetic, we get that. But guess what? Life happens all day, every day at a school. I mean, I share, folks, there's a date that always sticks with me. March 19, 2012, we lost a student outside of Manual, right? That's been 8 years, right? And it still stays in the back of my mind. It's at the forefront of my mind. I cry about that quite often, right? Just because of remembering those moments that we went through as a family, right? I could tell you, I couldn't tell you the data points of 2011, 2000. No, but I can tell you what happened in so-and-so's family's life. I can tell you what happened, right? And I think that's what folks need to understand, is this is not, it's humanity, right? It's humanity. And we get I feel the humanness back in education, because there's some degree of just, again, to Marcia's point, oppressive, cold, right? Like it did. I'm excited. Let me tell you what, and then I'm gonna let Tommy talk, because I'm just excited because I'm looking at you guys' faces, and Joe, you sparked this when you talked about the 1800s. In the 1800s, I wouldn't even looked at a Zoom. One, they wouldn't have Zoom, but if they had it, there would have been leaders like this on the page, right? I'm not looking at a Tommy. I'm not looking at a Brandy. I'm not looking at a Marcia. I'm not looking at an Yvonne. And I'm not, when Joe said he was from Central Arkansas, I'm not looking at a Joe, right? That just these, you guys are the leaders for this moment who must lead us forward in a different way. I think this pause is about us saying no more. That stuff doesn't work. That, I love the excuses, challenging those excuses. This doesn't work anymore. Don't tell us why you can't give us the money, right? Don't tell us about the bureaucracy that you are delaying these things for our kids. I love that y'all called it out. All of a sudden, the Chromebook fairies magically delivered Chromebooks to every child in the city, and not just in Denver, Aurora and Jeffco. I was like looking at just Chromebook fairies everywhere, right? It was just, and I'm like, where are these folks at? Where were these folks at before? Where were these folks at? I mean, I've seen people mobilize, delivering food to people who are hungry, delivering clothes to people who they know. And I'm like, y'all, this is our best selves. This is humanity at its best. And let's not go back to anything less than this moment. And so that's how we got to push forward. Tommy?
Yeah, you stole the words out of my mouth. I was just thinking about this idea.
I saw you rolling your eyes at me. I saw you.
Vernon, always. This idea of bringing humanity back feels really important to me. The idea that we are checking in on each other as a people, right? The fact that we as individuals are understanding what it means to be a parent who is working, who is also an educator, right? To be a teacher for the first time, who that is not some people's life work, but we've asked that of a lot of our parents, to take on a big lift, and the challenges they're experiencing with that, right? Like our people are having tough days. I know, several people who work at DSST, and just applaud the fact that you all said we need to just take a whole personal day where we're shutting things down and acknowledging that this work has been tremendously hard and different in a way that we could not have foreseen and anticipated. Just checking in on kids, right? I mean, the fact that, discipline numbers are just non-existent, right? Like, we hoped that the equity gap would close around discipline, and who knew this is what it was going to take to do that, right? Like, there's so much more that education can provide and be capable of, more than just an assessment, right? Just an end of year test. And I hope that we don't go back to a place of thinking that, to what you said, that it is just, reading, writing, arithmetic, that we are really thinking comprehensively about what schools mean and what that means for the possibilities and outcomes for our kids and their futures.
Yeah. Whew, look, I told you guys we wouldn't go over 45 minutes because I appreciate your time. But look, I want to say that I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you brothers and sisters for what you do every day on the front lines. I know Nevon, the new dad, man, and it just, every time I think about Nevon, I'm like, dude, he's a dad now, and he's a parent now, and he's juggling all this, man. And y'all, I'm telling y'all haven't seen this dude arguing for like safety precautions outside his school. He's a beast, right?
Thanks,
and
he's just trying to get a school zone sign.
Right. That's just, we're just trying to get a school zone sign, right? You knew I was going to plug that in because somebody's watching, they can get that school zone sign, right?
I mean, if white affluent communities in Denver are allowed to have school zone signs, I believe Montbello deserves a school zone sign by
You
Maxwell
better say it. You better say it.
by Montbello High School. Dr. Chen, I've been saying it for a minute. I've been talking
that's
to
a commercial. That's a commercial from Yvonne, just so y'all know.
But to be, I mean, we're working with the city folks to try and get that done. But I think that just goes to like I really applaud and appreciate some of the comments that other folks have said, and I think there shouldn't be an excuse for us as leaders, for teachers, but I think it goes like even bigger than that for us to support schools, because it can be done. This is like right now we're showing that it can be done, and also I think there's no replacement for in-person, at least at the elementary level, for in-person, like having that teacher, having kids in front of that class. And so I think just to add on, if I could for a second, I would hope we never go back to thinking that it's okay that some schools are not getting that same level of respect and things happening. And I also think I don't want us to go back to a point where like only a few parents, only a few staff, only a few teachers have input at higher level decisions. I think, I applaud the Board of Ed for having Zoom public comment 2 weeks ago or something like that. It was, they didn't have to leave their house. And I think about our families here in Montbello who don't go down to, to EGC to have a board meeting because they can't find parking or get, it's a whole mess. And so I think I don't want to go back to restricting access to big decisions, to giving genuine, authentic input. I think that's the only way forward that I see for parents and for educators in our community.
Yeah, and I think because of leaders like you guys, I don't, and y'all know me, we ain't going back. I think the important thing is to. My grandfather would say this, and he would say, "Look, don't keep fighting for stuff you already won." Right. And I think, Joe, again, to your comment about how things were in the 1800s and now there's some things that we keep fighting for that my grandparents, my great grandparents already won. And to Dr. Chen's point, why am I still fighting you for that? That already belongs to me. Those Chromebooks already belong to us. That food already belonged to us. That high quality environment that we can learn already belonged to us. So we just gonna need you to give it to us and quit telling us why you can't give it to us, because it already belongs to us. And so I think if we can get parents and families and teachers and principals and everybody on that same page of like, we coming for what already belongs to us, right? We're not accepting scarcity. We're not accepting this stagnant mindset. It's all about growth mindset for us. It's all about us believing in our greatest potential, our greatest hopes as humanity. And we're not going to sit here. I love that. I'm about to get this shirt done. Education, no more excuses, right? And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And you represent the leaders and so many others who share the mantle of leadership with you, represent the people who we must hold the line. We must hold the line and refuse to go back. Y'all know I will chain myself outside your school if I have to, whatever's necessary, right? Because our kids deserve it. When I look at my 7-year-old daughter's eyes, Brooklyn, 7 years old, I want a different world than what she's been getting. My mom is getting ready to retire from DPS. She's been in this district for over 50 plus years, from a student to a teacher and to a school leader, and she's getting ready to retire. And I'm going to cry because what I don't want for Brooklyn is the same lived experience as her grandmother. I do not want Brooklyn growing up in the same school structure and systems that, wore her grandmother down, right? And to the point where it became joyless, right? That's not what I want for her. And so I'm trusting you guys. Y'all know I got your back. And I'm trusting all of our other colleagues who lead, friends who lead, to say leadership matters, and we're going to lead well during this, after this, because we believe in a better tomorrow for all of our kids. So I'm going to give you a 30 seconds close, all of you guys, to say anything you want to your school community. And then we'll let you get back to your day. So we'll start the way I can see it. So I'm going to go Joe, Marcia, Tommy, then Dr. Chen, and then Nivon.
Yeah, I just want to say I love you, to Manuel and to all of our families and students and teachers and everybody out there. I've got to wipe a little tear out of my eye. You know, this has been emotional, and it's just, you know, this group has given me so much hope and inspiration that we're all like-minded individuals and that we can make a difference and that we're going to keep this going and we won't go back. We can't. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
To the beautiful Lobos on the rise, to my Compass family, I want you to know that we have your back, that we are here for you, that we, te amo, we love you, I love you. We are here and we are listening. We will learn from you and do it better. And that I'm so proud of your children, and to the students of Compass, keep rising, because you are killing it. And we, the staff, I know I speak for my team that are there every day, greeting you in PAC, that we are here and we are listening, and we are 100% behind you all the way.
To our students, our staff, our community, broader DPS, just everyone everywhere, you are missed, you are loved, you are cared for. We know how hard this is. You are not alone. We are going to get to the other side of this. Whether we go through it, above it, whatever that looks like, we will find a way and a path forward, and that we need to continue to lean on each other, continue to find opportunities and avenues to break down doors, and we can't do that without you.
All right, y'all are really pushing it with these tears and this makeup. That's like not a good combination. I'm like really fighting back here. But yeah, to our Bulldog community, like Far Northeast Montbello community, Green Valley Ranch Gateway. Wow. I mean, obviously, like, I love you all dearly. Like, I get up every single day for each and every one of you to fight for your options, honestly, so that you can have an option to do whatever you choose, and so that you sit at the seats of power to change this world. And I think that if nothing else, this crisis has elevated the importance of your education, the importance of your access, and I know you're going to do great things despite what we're going through, and we will get through this.
You got me at the end now. I've got to follow that. I just want to say, Maxwell Dolphins, we love you. I miss greeting our students every single morning. I miss seeing you guys running up to the school, and that we're thinking of you. I know, you know, for myself as the principal, but talking to Mr. Wirtz, Mrs. Yates, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, we miss you guys. We love you. I want to give a huge shout out to our team. Our educators are working so incredibly hard, such creative, innovative, really culturally responsive and thoughtful lessons, and it just shows in the work you're doing with our students. I want to shout out our parents who've never had to do what they're currently doing, including taking care of kids all day, being at work and figuring out what to do, like just all the new challenges that our parents are facing, and I just appreciate you. And I think I'll just end with, you know, we say it all the time at Maxwell, one pod, one sound, and we can be so united even if we're far apart. So we love you and miss you guys so much.
You guys are some amazing people, and I am honored to share the planet with you. And I just thank you guys for the way you love, the way you live. And thank you for giving me some of your time to share with our community that leadership matters. And so when you're looking around and what makes a great school, I want you to look at these faces, and I want you to hear what you heard from these people, these amazing people. And I want to affirm to you that leadership matters. It makes a difference. And so as a community, as we begin to take charge of our schools that are serving our kids, let us wrap our arms around our leaders, let us support them, and let us ensure that we have, you know, great folks leading our schools. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Thank you, Nivon. And you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Vernon. We love
Thanks,
you.
Vernon.
Thank you for your leadership.
Love you.
Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Vernon. Thank
Vernon.
you
Bye,
for this.
team.
Thanks, everybody.
Love you guys.